back on our childhoods, we look back in fondness, remembering a favourite toy, fun games, old friends, holidays and birthday parties. But we may also look back and remember the time that we broke our arm or our cat died. We may think of these things as just memories, but the negative things that happen to us or we witness can have a lasting effect on who we become as an adult and how we deal with the world around us. There are people that have things from their childhood that they would like to forget, past normal childhood events, like their parents fighting every night or feeling unsafe. That's why I believe that we need to make sure that children can grow up in good environments by helping parents to seek help for their own struggles so that the children don't end up dealing with their problems for years to come. It is normal for our bodies to experience stress. Most of us experience stress in our daily lives, when working on an assignment that's due tomorrow, meeting new people, or during conflict with others. During stress, our body goes into fight or flight mode, experiencing an adrenaline rush, increased heart rate, and the stress hormone cortisol levels rise. Children experience stressful situations from a young age in daily life. When a young child receives support from a caring adult, the stress response winds down and the body returns to normal. Emotionally secure relationships foster a child's ability to regulate their response to stress. But stress can turn toxic if the child experiences constant or severely stressful situations and there is no caring adult to act as a buffer for that stress. The extended absence of response can cause the stress response in the body to stay activated and the child will remain on high alert even when there is no apparent danger. A writing on toxic stress from Harvard University states that this kind of prolonged activation of the stress response systems can disrupt the development of brain architecture and other organ systems and increase the risk for stress-related disease and cognitive impairment well into adult years. It can also cause behavioural issues, anxiety, depression, substance abuse, and also immune issues and digestive issues. They may never learn to appropriately self-regulate. In the areas of the brain dedicated to reasoning and learning, the neural connections that comprise brain architecture are weaker and fewer in number. In the short term, it can affect the child's ability to learn and pay attention. When looking at what may cause toxic stress to occur, it is important to understand ACEs, or Adverse Childhood Experiences. ACEs usually involve a child growing up in a home where they witness or experience violence, abuse, neglect, substance abuse, or mental health issues. It is common for children with ACEs to have more than one occurring at the same time. According to data from a Growing Up in New Zealand study involving 5,500 participants, more than half the children studied experienced at least one ACE by 4.5 years of age. To understand how a child witnessing or being involved in bad experiences such as ACEs affects them, it is important to understand the mechanics of what is occurring in the brain. Mirror neurons are the basis of empathy as they cause the body to mirror the emotions it sees. As humans, the vast majority of us experience empathy, a level of understanding, when seeing someone going through a misfortune and being able to relate and sympathize with them. This can be as small as watching someone fall over and scrape their knee, to witnessing someone being abused or even beaten. So if a child lives in a chaotic environment with a parent who has bad coping skills, who abuses substances or people, or suffers from a mental illness, the mirror neurons mirror the parent and the child experiences the same experience they witness in the caregiver. Simply by being in this environment, the child's delicate and still developing brain is learning behaviours and coping mechanisms that may stay with them for a long time, unless something is done about it. While down the track there will be things that can help a child learn new strategies to navigate the world, the most important thing to do is prevent it getting to that point in the first place. In order to prevent children being in environments that foster toxic stress, a vital part of the problem is looking at the health of the parents and caregivers. Parents need to be able to evaluate their own lives and stresses that have caused them to act and react in certain ways. How do they cope with the world? Do they turn to substances in stressful times? Do they take their anger out on their children or partner as they don't know any other ways to deal with their emotions? What are their coping skills? Parents need to learn good skills so that they can pass them on to their children. Parents may have their own past traumas that cause them to act and react in certain ways, but this can't be an excuse for ruining a child's chance at a stable upbringing. According to the World Health Organization, mental illness accounts for 15% of the total burden of disease in the developed world, with depression set to become the second leading cause of disability in the world by 2020. In order to break the cycle of toxicity, the best thing a parent can do is speak with a professional. This may be a counsellor to help them talk through their issues, or a psychologist who can help them develop healthy coping strategies and change the patterns in their brain. In New Zealand, many companies offer free counselling services through the workplace for their employees that are anonymous and free of charge. Students connected to universities during study can be eligible for free or highly subsidised services. In the New Zealand 2019 budget, we saw a massive push towards funding and expanding all sorts of mental health-based services. There were 13 new mental health-related budgets added. The most notable was setting aside funds to establish a mental health and wellbeing commission, meaning that there would be more leadership and oversight into the mental health sector, and highlights the importance of mental health being its own entity away from general health. It also included expanding access to and choice of primary mental health and addiction support services for all New Zealanders that need them. There is also increased parenting support for pregnant women and parents who are experiencing problems with alcohol and other drugs, and who are poorly connected to health and social services. From the position of early childhood teachers, we aren't able to step into a child's home and try and solve a family's problems. We can, however, create an environment in our early learning centres that we know all children are worthy of and should be experiencing all the time. TBRI, or Trust-Based Relational Intervention, is something that can begin the healing process for a child who has experienced toxic stress, and begins with the child feeling emotionally and physically safe, and will help them to eventually build trust. TBRI highlights so many of the things that we already try to incorporate in our early learning centres, such as sensitivity, consistency, availability and full attention, and a kind and gentle voice and body language. It doesn't have to be the end of a road for a child who has experienced toxic stress. Things can get better, and a parent can make positive changes in their life that will help their family in return. Into the future, I hope to see the government providing even more support to mental health services and raising awareness so that people know it's okay to get help and continuing to normalise it. In turn, this will help create better environments for the tamariki of Aotearoa and a better future for our country.